energy's natural state is movement.
Right.
Energy does not like being stagnant. It is not natural. It cannot. That's why these feelings are trying to come up. And we all have them. Like, it's a heavy topic, but you all have them. And we all have childhood trauma. We all have relationship trauma. Everybody does. And when it's ready to be healed, it is going to show itself. And it's just asking, validate it, name it, have your good cry, have your counseling, have your coaching.
Hello, and thank you for joining us today. I'm so happy you're here. Happiness Solved is the place where we explore everything you need to become the best possible version of you. This is Sandee Sgarlata, and today I've got some exciting news for our dedicated listeners. We've just launched our exclusive members-only portal. This is your ticket to a world of additional content designed to deepen your understanding and engagement with the Happiness Solved mission. To learn more about all of the exciting benefits, stay tuned until the end of the episode where I will explain in greater detail. For those interested now, head over to happinesssolved.supercast.com. Today is another amazing conversation, so let's get started. Dr. Karin Luise, such a privilege to be having this conversation with you today, and I just can't wait. I'm so excited. How are you?
Can't wait to see how it unfolds. I'm doing great. Thank you. And I saw that. Are you still in North Carolina? I saw one of your podcasts. You were there. Where are you? I'm in Atlanta. I'm asking because I'm in the Southeast.
Oh, okay. Well, so my husband and I rented a condo on Lake Norman.
Oh, my dad used to live on Lake Norman.
Yeah, we did it. Yeah, we did it for 4 months because my stepdaughter bought a house down there with her hopefully soon to be fiance. I always throw that out there. I'm hoping to help push that along.
Right. No pressure whatsoever.
No pressure. And so we just wanted to kind of I always want to have a place on a lake. Like I grew up on the Severn River outside of Annapolis. And so I really just love having that view with water. And so we thought, her boyfriend's father is in real estate and he owns multiple condos. So we just rented this condo for 4 months and thought, let's just try it out. It was very difficult for me because I'm so busy and I need, I'm a little bit of a, what do I want to say? High maintenance worker where I like my big space. I like the big screen. I need the space for me because I'm a creative and I need that. And it was very difficult for me to work at the kitchen table, or I had a little tiny desk in the guest room. It just, and then not to mention the drive back and forth, which was 6-7 hours of your life that is gone. And I was like, so we just decided, no, we're not going to buy a second property. I love that area. Yes, it's high on my list as a potential place to retire from, but I live in the Northern Virginia area in Leesburg, which is west of DC. Yeah.
Well, that happened to be the last episode that I was listening to. So it was on my brain, North Carolina, but that's cool. That's neat that we have that Lake Norman connection, but I'm the same way. Like right now I've got 4 screens and I get a little anxious every time I have to go on the road. I have an attachment on my computer that lets me have a few screens, but I'm the same. And, well, there's a security in it. You have your things and you're creative. Like I like to have it all up at once so we can save the world, 3 or 4 screens at a time. So.
All right. So you've got a very interesting background. You've got your PhD in counseling and education, and you blend 20 years of practice and research. You also have some spiritual gifts as a medium, intuitive, and channel to guide people through the mind-blowing transformations. We're going to talk about that in the bonus episode.
Awesome.
But I love that you're obsessed with helping people release the programming of their past, remember who they are, and tap into the power and purpose that they are here to enjoy all levels of their lives. How did you get to this point?
The loaded question. Well, first of all, let me let you know that I am also a single mom of 3 kids and 2 crazy dogs. So I've done all I can to suppress the outside noise, and I'm recovering from a little bit of a, So anyway, we're as real as it gets today.
Perfect.
How did I get there? Yeah, everyone there. People have friends over and things. So anyway, we'll just you can all relate. It's Christmas break here when we're taping this. So I got here through the Cliff Notes version is when I was little, I thought I was going to be a teacher. And so I went that route and became an elementary school teacher in my undergrad. I married a guy right out of college that was a professional athlete. He ended up becoming a Hall of Fame baseball player. And I was, I just thought I was going to, that's not in my bio, but I was a baseball wife for a decade. And I thought, well, I'm just going to be a baseball wife, right? Like have a couple kids, a couple golden retrievers, We were in Atlanta, and my world fell apart when there was a very public divorce, and there was a lot of infidelity. It's very widely published. And so I went through this bottoming out, and all of my like unhealed childhood trauma came up. I wrote a book called The Fatherless Daughter Project along the way to talk about that, but that was a huge part of my coming into my next chapter. And I realized that I started looking at childhood trauma, and then I wanted to understand how people could behave the way that they do, because I couldn't imagine doing what had been at the time done to me through this decade-long relationship with the man that I thought I was going to spend my life with. And then I decided to go back to school, to literally to try to understand, because I was depressed, I was lost, I didn't know where I was going to go. So I went back, got my master's in counseling, and then got my PhD in counseling and education. That was a 10-year journey, because I had another marriage about 6 years later, three kids back to back to back, twins, and then one within 2 years. And then that marriage fell apart with a lot of deceit involved. And at the same time, I had this tremendous spiritual awakening where I had a bunch of supernatural experiences happen to me all within like this very condensed time. So this is basically about a decade after the last divorce. And I had to then deal with how am I going to be divorced again? It was very clear to me that I couldn't stay in the marriage, but as clear as it took me about 3 years to finally decide I'm going to have to become bigger than the guilt and shame that community, church, everybody's going to put on me. Because now I'm not only going to be the single girl with one divorce from an athlete, and everyone knows my name here in Atlanta, and there's already a lot of talk around that. Like now I'm going to have another one. And it was the hardest decision I've ever made. It took me years to get through the battle, the internal battle with the external opinions. Right. And
Oh, of
so, and I had
course.
3 kids, and I know you've been divorced, you can relate, and you've had some tragedy wrapped around your divorce. And there were some tragic things that happened in there. Somebody very close to me committed suicide, and I and another person found this person, and there was another death. And it was this cataclysmic, like 12-month period that I never saw coming, right? So I thought the first betrayal was going to be it. Well, then this second thing happened, and long story short, my world blew apart, flew apart. I finally had to leave the situation, and I went through this very accelerated spiritual awakening experience where my gifts that I had kind of suppressed as a child ended up popping open. And so I then became a single mom. This is in 2014, and I shifted to my practice. I was a licensed therapist and an educator. And I mean, I was teaching, I had taught at the elementary, middle, high, and college and graduate school level. And they wanted me to come on as a tenured professor. I mean, I was very much the research track. And then I had this spiritual awakening, and I decided that what I wanted to do instead was really try to understand. And I've heard you talk a lot about, frequency and, all this stuff. So I know you get it. Understand that part of it. And now, so, that was almost 10 years ago. Now it's kind of mainstream. 10 years ago, this was not mainstream. I never would have put the word medium on a bio 10 years ago. But I ended up then just going on this beautiful pilgrimage into spiritual practice and healing, and all this trauma I had as a child that I repeated again in relationships manifested into me learning how to facilitate that for other people. So the bow on the story is that now I get to share in other people's transformations and help to guide people through it through a kind of a framework that it's unique to each person, of course, but like I know what really I can very, very quickly find what's going on with people when they keep repeating the same things, and with the unhealed trauma. And so we end up repeating things in relationships. So things became crystal clear to me after I went through it in my own life. And so, people that are looking for a transformation, very often there is a catalyst that also beckons in a spiritual transformation. As we're shifting, growing, we do a huge shift about every 10 years developmentally. That research shows that. And so now as I'm 50-ish, I'm like a totally different person than I was as a baseball wife in my 20s, right? Like I've lived a whole nother lifetime now. And I'm so blessed to have gone through all the shit, because it was a lot of shit. And now my kids are 15, and 13. I've been single now for almost about 9 years. And I I get to help people find their way back to their home, to who they really are. And that is sourced within
Ah,
you. And so it's all for, it wasn't for naught. It was because now I'm supremely qualified. But so now I do spiritual work, and I'm also a grounded in the counseling field. I also know clinical research. I'm grounded there, but now I'm much more of what I call myself now, a transformationalist. And I want to help you remember who you are, because life makes you forget.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Especially when you're a child, right?
Yeah.
We're all born into this world. I've had so many spiritual awakenings because when you look back, it doesn't have to be this big, big thing. It can be something
Right.
really little where you just have like a shift in your perception. And when I
Yes.
was holding my son after he was born, and I had 5 pregnancies,
Mm.
and one child, I was actually told I would never get pregnant, agreed to separate from my ex-husband, his dad. That day I found out I was pregnant with my son, and I
Wow, chill
stayed married
bumps.
for, it took me 10 more years to finally, I always say I jumped off the cliff praying my wings would work.
I get it.
Well, the first 10 minutes of holding my son, it was that you get that realization that you're experiencing a love you've never experienced in your entire life.
Yeah.
And at the same time, the fear shows up,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
But what I realized was that we're all born into this world as these innocent babies.
Yep.
And then the world gets to us and we're told, you can't do that. You can't do that. Oh, you're stupid. You're an idiot. Don't do, and, and you start believing it because you're so impressionable as a child. And that childhood trauma is what, I was in therapy because of everything that I dealt with in my life. I was in therapy for almost 15 years,
Yep.
right?
I
Dealing with
relate.
it.
Yep.
And it wasn't until I really started working with more energy healers and such as yourself, the transformational experts, when we started tapping into that childhood trauma and releasing that,
Yeah.
that and this has all happened in the past couple of years for me because I've been on this journey for 34 years. And I'm so grateful that there are, experts such as yourself, and it's becoming more mainstream today
Mm.
so that we can really get to the root of this, because not many people really deal with that childhood trauma. And while psychologists and therapists are all amazing and they're definitely needed, once you get to a point, you've got to deal with the spiritual component of it and that energetic component of it, because just talking about it isn't going to make it go away. What is your
Yeah.
take on that?
Oh, there's so much to say. Well,
Sorry.
no apologies. I love it. It's all important. It all flows the way it's supposed to. And I mean, I can relate to that. I had years of infertility and was told the same. And my first two were born out of science. And the third, I was on my way out as well. And had one encounter and got my third naturally, which I was
Amazing how
born.
that happens, right? I'm like, darn,
Yeah.
I made that one little, but
Yep.
thank God, because I've got my miracle baby who's now 23.
Totally. Well,
Yeah.
and the universe, source, your higher self, whatever you believe, like there is a
Yeah.
divine orchestration. And so,
Yeah.
once you get to the other side of it and you start to make peace with that, that's where the healing is. But, and my third child was born medically fragile and actually was flatlined a couple times, died for 5 minutes in my arms. And I know
Oh
you
gosh.
lost your brother when you were young. And so, anytime that you tie children, loss, and having that
Mhm.
experience with mortality and death, and I mean it changes you. Birth and death change you, right?
Oh
My
yeah.
stepdad just went into hospice. I'm about to let go of him in the physical, and so that's front and center for me right now too. And I say it changes you, so here's what I want to put in. It's always a choice.
Right.
Right? Like
Totally.
it changes you if you choose to go in. And it sounds like you did what I did, which was I got lambasted many times, but I finally rose my hand and I just surrendered. And I'm like, just show me. Like, here was my plan. I was going to be an elementary school teacher and a baseball wife. Well, apparently I'm not doing that. So where are we going? And it's just been, there has been a lot. And, those of us that are called a lot of times to very high frequency work, go through the
Yes.
highest levels of trauma because it
Yeah.
qualifies you. And your soul call, I believe in soul contracts. And I do believe our soul, as hard as that is to hear, it's helped me find peace, that my soul actually called in a lot of these experiences so that I can understand the human heart in a way that I wouldn't have. But and I forgot your question. So yes, it is a choice. What was the original question? Because it's walking through, oh, that having a child changes you. It's the beautiful thing about that is, you can stay stuck to the work that, you and I both do from different paradigms, is that, or different, avenues. we don't want you to be stuck, right? You want to have a happier life, you want to have a fulfilled life. And for me, what that's meant is having a life that's more tapped into something deeper, because as you just said, my friend calls it being de-geniused. You're not born comparing yourself or feeling shame. You get de-geniused about the age of 6 or 7 when you
Yep.
realize you compare yourself to everybody else. And, I teach this. I mean, every time I do a teaching, this comes up for me, what you just said. So I'm glad you said it. I'm like, you are not born, shame is the lowest
That's
level of
right.
human consciousness. You are not born ashamed of everything. You love your thighs. You love your own poop. You love everything about your body. You're not afraid to emote. You don't apologize for asking for what you want and screaming about what you don't. And that's actually the way that you're born to be in the world, in a much mature fashion as you age. But, we shut down people's, especially women's, our voices. And, I did a workshop yesterday, and I was asking women where they were feeling that the pain of their
So
past.
good.
And yep. I mean, there's gut, there's pelvis, there's chest and all that. But I mean, half the women, more than half, most of
The
them said
throat
they felt it going
chakra.
through. And, and for me, like I shut it down for years and years, especially when you're young. Like I heard you reflecting about how when you went through your loss and trauma as a child, that, nobody went to therapy back then. In the 70s, we
That's
just,
right.
yeah. And my trauma was 70s and early 80s with abuse in the family. And we went to like the church, like I don't even know, they did weird, like there was somebody cast out a demon at one point, and none of it helped, is my point. And then you're holding this trauma. And so what I found when I researched my book, The Fatherless Daughter Project, was that these women that had lost their dads in whatever way, through death, abandonment, betrayal, addiction, incarceration, whatever it was, because it was never dealt with, it goes underground, and then it usually comes up when you have your next loss, your next trauma, and
Right.
you're lambasted with these emotions that seem, quote, abnormal, but they're not. What they are is they're a combination of all of that trauma and loss that has been pushed underground and stuffed, and then it's coming up and asking to be healed. So I will tell you, if right now you're dealing with like more emotions than people think that maybe you should, or you think, like you're having some unhealed stuff come up, and the beautiful part of it, it's ready to be healed. And if it's coming up and your higher self is calling it in, like it's a beautiful time for you to do some work on that, because you're actually prepared to do it. So that's a really, to me, empowering reminder that when it shows itself, your higher self says, okay, it's time. And that's when you call in experts. That's when you invest in your healing. You call in, I mean, for me, I did the therapy route too. I was under psychoanalysis. I did EMDR. I did a lot of therapy from childhood sexual abuse. I had a lot, excuse me, of therapy. And then EMDR was very helpful with the trauma healing. And then after my divorce, when I was betrayed so much in my first marriage, like I went through a lot of therapy around self-worth,
Right.
and I had PTSD, fully diagnosed, like all the things, because all this stuff came up. And I do believe in doing your work, and then once your trauma work, you feel a little more stable, then coaching. And I mean, I do coaching now more than I do trauma work, although I can do it. I love meeting people when they're really ready for that transformation place. Although, like what you said, the awakening and the transformation is always happening, right? In those little pieces.
Yes.
Yes, there can be like life-shattering events, but
Right.
there's still little awakening pieces all along the way.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, I love it. This is my second interview today. We just had a very similar
Did
conversation. And
you?
I love that more and more my guests are talking about what I love more than anything to talk about is your consciousness and the
Yeah.
frequency that we show up in, because I feel like as a society, as humanity, we are at a crossroads, and people really have that choice. They
Hmm.
can either choose to, stay where they are, or choose the higher consciousness, because it's two states of being. We're either
Yes.
in consciousness, or we're in ego. That's it.
Yep. Love or fear. And it is.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, we've been challenged supremely the past few years, and
Yes.
it's happening for a reason. I mean, there's no, it's happening. It's being called in collectively. And yes, you get to pick. I love using the word timeline. It's something that I love knowing, because it's neat. They're very spiritually connected people will talk about how actually in every moment, the choices that you're making, and that's focus, that's the words you're saying, that's the activity that you're choosing, you are shifting timelines. You're actually picking different timelines. Literally, it's like a constant shift, 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 shift. So you actually have the say so in the direction of your life. And it's based on, when we talk about consciousness, that means that you're aware of how you're feeling. And that's the first step. Like, what are you feeling? Where are you feeling it? Like, what are the feelings? Just name them. And the research is showing now that if you can just name and sit and feel them when they come up, I'm not talking about trauma, deep trauma. I'm talking about if you're just feeling and you're triggered, if you can just name, oh my God, I'm pissed, I'm angry, I'm scared, whatever it is, like if actually you take 90 seconds to just feel it, those feelings will disintegrate, the root feelings within 90 seconds. That's recent research. That's, to me, is like amazing. Like, you don't have to sit in it forever, but the more you avoid it, the more you're avoiding that processing. Emotions are energy. They have an
Yeah.
energetic frequency. They're measurable. David Hawkins did a ton of work on this.
Oh,
That's where the
love David
energetics, me
Hawkins.
too.
Yeah.
And, energy's natural state is movement.
Right.
Energy does not like being stagnant. It is not natural. It cannot. That's why these feelings are trying to come up. And we all have them. Like, it's a heavy topic, but you all have them. We all have childhood trauma. We all have relationship trauma. Everybody does. And when it's ready to be healed, it is going to show itself. And it's just asking, validate it, name it, have your good cry, have your counseling, have your coaching, give voice to it. Don't shut down. Like, when I was shutting down my throat chakra, like, so me having this, I'm getting over a virus right now, but I got bronchitis. You will have manifestation of illness wherever you are shutting yourself down. Heart
Yes.
issues, throat issues, lung issues. I had got laryngitis when I wasn't speaking up for years. I was getting recurring bronchitis. And so if you're getting recurring infections and things, one of the person's work to look up is Louise Hayes, her work on this. Yeah. Heal Your Heart. Yeah. Are you pulling up Heal Your Heart? Oh, look, I got it right here too. Oh, you can
Oh,
even, like, I've got
yeah,
next to
you
my
can heal your life. It's just a different version.
perfect.
Yes, you can heal your life. I know. I keep it here because I refer to it so often.
Yeah. I mean, just look it up. Like, if you're having recurring bladder infections, lower back pain, just Google Louise Hay, reason for illness, UTIs, whatever it is. And, you can access it right now, and just becoming conscious of, wow, like, I really do believe that we are energetic beings completely, and that we contribute to our wellness or our
Oh,
dis-ease.
yeah.
And the beautiful part is you do have power over your wellness. And so a lot of the work I'm doing now is looking at healing one's body, tapping into Mother Earth. And there's a lot of really awesome, which used to be woo woo, but really it's just connecting back to, like, who we were thousands of years ago. And we've
That's
been
right.
talked out of using all these powers that are free, by the way, and talked into all the things we've been talked into lately. But we've got much more at our fingertips than the world has let us in on. We've kind of been blinded to the power that we actually have inside of us and that we have through the earth.
Yeah. And thank goodness there's so many, big institutions, Stanford, Harvard, Yale, just to name a few, that are doing research on, I got certified as a Reiki master teacher back in 2010. And it was just I'm in the DC metro area. People have a stick up their butt here. Like, I'm not in the right location geographically to be doing that type of work. Now it's getting a little bit more mainstream. But the thing is like, all these health remedies and different things when it comes to supplements and natural remedies that work, nobody wants to support it because they're not going to run a scientific study of it, right? Because there's no money in
Money is
it.
always money. Yeah.
It
Nobody's going to
always
get
comes
paid.
down to money. And so we're stuck in that paradigm right now, especially here in the United States.
Well, the beautiful thing is that, like, you getting Reiki training back then, that's awesome. You were a rebel and with a cause. I love it. And I can only imagine how it is in DC. But people, but there is a wave of enough people now who, I
Yeah.
mean, Joe Dispenza is doing a ton of research on energetics, and the research is coming, and the systems are going to be, of course it's going to be a choice. Are you going to go with that system, or
Right.
maybe there's a happy middle? Of course we're not giving you medical advice right now, but
Nope.
it's there is so much there. And our ancestors did heal straight from the earth. And I mean, just like this week, I was loaded up with oil of oregano and colloidal silver. Like, I was piling myself through with really natural, going and sitting on the earth, grounding. Like,
Yeah.
I also took an antibiotic because some things were setting up. I found my way in the middle, but
Well,
there is so much available to us because the universe loves us. Earth loves us. We are supposed to be
yes.
connected, and plus you just feel better. You feel happier. I mean, studies show that your happiness levels go up if you hug a tree.
Yeah.
I mean, it's proven.
It is proven. It is
Yeah.
totally proven. All right. So talk about some of the things that you do with your clients because I see that you have retreats. Ooh,
Mhm.
let's
Yeah,
talk
we
about your
do.
retreats.
Yeah,
Ooh.
I've been having some little local day long retreats, but I have my signature retreat is called Wild Wonder. That the deets for that will be coming out probably in January. It's really beautiful. It's been typically women. I'm not sure if I'll open this up to men and women or not, but I connect you back to earth. We do a lot of it. I love luxury experiences though. We do like, because I want you to feel pampered. I want you to feel high vibe. Yeah, right. Me
Sign
too.
me up,
You don't
right?
have to let go of your first class seat if you're going to be spiritual. Like, actually, the
Right.
more abundant you feel, the happier
That's
you
right.
feel if you're not in ego, but you're just
That's
in
right.
appreciation and gratitude and wrapping yourself in love and caviar. Like, it's here for you to be loved. So I incorporate that into my retreats, and we do it's about 4 days of I'll probably do it early summer, late spring this year. And you get, when you're in a group, there's an activation that happens when you're with
Oh,
certain people, yeah, that you just can't get on your own. It's a different, and
no.
I love helping people. So I was an expert in group. Used to teach group counseling, and it's one of my expertise. And plus I'm a middle child, so I was raised basically the group therapist in the house. um and so there's a beautiful activation that happens when you're getting feedback from a group that gets to know you in a very intense time. And we're able to be vulnerable if you'll show up in a way that there's just something that happens that's so beautiful. And I do these activities where you give each other feedback, and it's always the most powerful part of the retreats. And I do virtual programs too. And I have a couple of books, and I have another book I'm working on right now. And it's what I'm realizing recently. I'm kind of being called back to help people heal their hearts. Like, that's going to be my
Mm,
next program coming.
love
And
it.
I think people really need like nurturing right now. Cause I think like you and I'm still healing, and not that I'm any
Oh,
better than anybody, but
yeah.
I feel like I'm on another side that I can, just like we were saying earlier, like I've found the way, like I can accelerate you through the 10 years it took me.
That's
Literally, I
right.
mean, in a much quicker time, because I can help you weed out the things that are peripheral and that are getting in your way very clearly, that I didn't realize I was doing or paying attention to, that really are expanding your non-growth, you staying stuck. And so, when you're in a retreat situation, you've got a really like a 3-day acceleration. And in the programs, it's beautiful when someone's really ready to do the work, right? So
Yeah,
that's my only thing. If you're going to come to me, like, just be ready. You don't have to know what the hell's going on or what you actually need, because that's my superpower. I can find it very quickly with a short conversation and with some exploration and inquiry, and then we can hit the ground running. So yeah, right now I have there's a free soul inventory quiz. I just started this year, and it's been really fascinating. It's at soulinventory.com, and it just looks at 12 facets of your life, and it's free, and it's a really great starting point just to see, like, where am I killing it, and
love
where
it.
is there like a vacuum, and it kind of encapsulates your life in a really concise way. So that's something I would offer immediately if you want just like a quick win.
Oh my gosh, I love it. I love it. And here's the thing, what most people don't recognize, and because I was an athlete and then became a, retired US national and international coach, coaching has just always been in my blood. I was coaching skating at 16 to pay for babysitters to watch my little brother, right? Like literally,
Yeah.
like I've always done it. And the thing is everybody needs a coach.
Yeah.
And most of us out here that are, working with other people, we have our own coaches. I just signed
Yes.
on a new coach for a full year, and we started working together, and it's incredible because it's next level for me. Like,
Yep.
right. And there's always going to be somebody out there that's next level.
Someone that's gone ahead of you. And I'm so glad you said that,
Yeah.
because it's like, it's so funny to me, because it can be the hardest thing to convince people of. And there's so many
Yeah.
objections. And I'm like, okay, you have an attorney, you have a dentist, you have a
Right.
Pilates instructor, you have whatever, like you're paying people to walk you through how to better all these areas of your life. What about like your heart and soul?
And
Like,
your mind,
and
your
your
mindset.
mind, heart, and soul. Coaches know when they're really good and they have this experience. We know that the interplay
That's
of
right.
mind, heart, and soul and body. And I agree. Like, I keep one, and I'm the same. Like, you up level, you keep it. There's an accountability there. They know your
Yep.
story. They can, yes, yes, and yes. It is the best, because you know what? The more that you're investing in yourself, you're showing you not only yourself, but you're putting a vibe out in the universe that you're worthwhile. You're amping
That's
up
right.
your mojo. You're amping up your vibrational blueprint in the world, because you're declaring your worthiness. And for some people, and intangible investments like that always translate into tangible results. They are what give you the tangible results that you're looking for. And especially with your history, and I heard about your expertise with athletes, I mean, you have a level of understanding that like I wouldn't have. Like, so somebody that
Right.
would need someone to understand, like the fact that I was married to an athlete, right? And I used to run around in a celebrity area. I have a very soft spot for people that are in the celebrity arena because I know that it's an illusion.
Right.
I've lived there, and I know it was the loneliest I ever was, right? And so I have had numerous actresses and athletes as clients because, right, like
Because you get that.
you understand, right? You understand. So it's a
Right.
similar, and plus, and the
Right.
divorce, right? And trauma. And so divorce, you know that there's going to be no shame. There's something I haven't heard or probably been through. And when you look for a coach, you want someone, I mean, they show that if you just feel safe and heard and understood,
That's right.
your work is already, you're halfway there in that bond. And then when you have a coach, the coaches specifically, it's different than counseling, because counseling, you're kind of working on the past a lot. It's inevitable that a coach will also talk about your past, but
Right.
you are forming a step-by-step plan to how to move into their next level of greatness moving forward. Yeah. Because you've already, you know, the fast track.
Yeah. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
And it's great. It's great to have these conversations because there's, and I'm only throwing this out there because there are people out there that have that lack mentality.
So many.
So many. And so you want to make sure you're talking with somebody that, look, if I'm not the right person for you, I know 20 other coaches that I can send you to, and have that abundance mentality, because I'm not going to be that perfect person for everybody that I work with. Right.
Exactly. Exactly
Yeah.
right. And I would challenge you, if you're having an objection to getting some support, and I hate to use the word help, it is help, but it's support, right? Just like you
It's
get support
support.
with your taxes. I would switch the word out when you're having your objection, which is usually, I can't afford it, I don't have the time.
Right.
I would switch the can and the don't out for I won't. And see how that resonates with you. Like, I won't afford it. And we're not trying to sell you out of anything, but for me, that's
Right.
what I do. It's kind of like,
Exactly.
even with just with the athletics, right? Like, I don't have
Yeah.
time to whatever to work out. If you switch that with, I won't give myself time to work out, and you check in with yourself, it's like, is it really that you can't, or really that, and maybe you don't, maybe today I really like, I won't have time to do things because I'm driving my kids everywhere. Maybe that is true for that
Right.
day. But
Right.
over the long haul, it's not really a can't, it's
It's a
really a
want.
won't. And
I
so
love
that
it.
lack mentality, there's always, yeah, there's always time and energy and resources. It's like, where else are we allocating them? And I'm just going to promise you, and she's speaking to it, that doing this work pays off in dividends in every other area of your life, because then something clicks inside you that is the common denominator in every other area, specifically relationships and your own well-being. And
That's
that's
right.
always where the problems show up. So just saying it's an easy button, right? I'm with you on that.
I love it.
It is. I'm like, I have an easy button on my desk. My kids all come and hit it. It's funny. It's like a joke.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
Yeah, that was easy.
That was easy.
Right. It's
There
part
you
of
go. Love it. I
one
love
of my
it.
props.
I
Yeah.
love it. Oh my gosh. So okay, you gave out the website for that soul quiz.
Inventory.com, right. Well, if you just want to
Inventory.com.
talk to me or look at what I've got coming out, so it's under Dr. Karin. You just have to spell it all out. DOCTORKARIN. So it's Karin with an I. And yeah, I've got programs coming out. The retreat will come out, and
Fantastic.
I'm just like you, creative. There's always stuff happening. So if this resonates, please reach out to me, and I'd love to have you in my tribe too.
Awesome. And that will also be in the show notes, everyone. So thank you so much. And this has just been such an amazing conversation. So thank you.
Well, thank you for having me. It's been a blessing for me too.
All right. Thank you, everyone. I hope you enjoyed today's conversation, and as promised, I'd like to give you more details of what you can expect as a member of the Happiness Solved exclusive community. First, you'll have access to a treasure trove of extra podcast episodes. These episodes dive deeper into the topics we discuss, featuring additional expert interviews only found here. But that's not all. As a member, you'll also get access to a series of mindset training sessions. These recordings are tailored to help you understand the how and why your mindset is the most important asset you have, empowering you to achieve your personal and professional goals. And for those of you looking to find a moment of peace in your busy lives, we've got something special. exclusive guided meditations. These sessions are crafted to help you relax, refocus, and recharge. Whether you're a meditation guru or just starting out, there's something here for everyone. Becoming a member is more than just accessing extra content. It's about joining a community of like-minded individuals, all on a journey to live life to its fullest and become the best possible version of you. So how can you join? It's simple. Go to happinesssolved.supercast.com and sign up. Don't miss out on this opportunity to deepen your journey with us. Again, that's happinesssolved.supercast.com, and it will also be in the show notes. I am so grateful you're a part of our Happiness Solved family, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart for your continued support. Again, I am so grateful for you, and I hope that you and your family are healthy and safe, and that your lives are filled with peace, joy, and happiness. Take care, everyone.